Yeah, hello and welcome everyone. I'm Philip from Eschbach. Thanks for joining today's webinar. Really cool to see so many people joining today. I think it's a great topic that we are having, the key to the smart factory, 5 steps to the adaptive plant with Thomas Halfmann. Thomas, we are really super excited to have you here in this webinar and you sharing this framework for transforming manufacturing operations into truly an adaptive plant. So just one quick side note before we start the presentation. Please drop your questions in the Q&A and we cover them at the end. And with that, let's get started. Thomas, over to you.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, everyone. Thank you very much, Philip, and welcome to today's webinar, The Key to the Smart Factory, 5 steps to build your adaptive plant. In this webinar, we will delve into concepts like DPMM, Digital Plant Maturity Model, by Bioforum, but also how do we achieve the maturity in manufacturing by digitalization. So this is what it's all about. And with that, I would briefly introduce and thank also Eschbach for the opportunity to do that webinar here. Eschbach is sponsoring, organizing that webinar, and Eschbach is known as the provider of Shift Connector. Shift Connector, as the name said, started 20 years ago as a tool to digitalize shift handover. Fast forward 20 years later, it is a digital platform, as we can see here depicted on that picture, that is providing collaboration, performance management, continuous improvement, all enabled by cutting-edge cloud technology and also, of course, by useful implementation of AI capabilities. Myself, I'm 25 plus years in the industry. My home in the industry is manufacturing, IT, OT for the last 25 plus years. And what I'm sharing today is based upon the experience and the research that I've done in the last, few years. So setting a scene a little bit. So pharmaceutical manufacturing, biopharmaceutical manufacturing is facing some challenges and certainly some unprecedented complexity. So what we are seeing today is a shift from traditional pharmaceutical manufacturing based upon small molecules into large molecules, biologics, and also personalized medicine. What we else see is a rise of CDMOs, which at the end of the day results in a fragmented supply chain when we are talking about the entire supply chain from the APIs, be it biologics or be it chemicals, through the formulation and later on also the logistics activities, which is more fragmented than we have ever seen before. And at the same time, what we are facing as an industry is that we have an increasing regulatory pressure. So the regulators do everything in order to make medicine safer for our patients, but also to adopt at the same time new technologies in regards of manufacturing, but also in regards of supporting manufacturing by digitalization, for example, or just recently AI, as you already may be aware of that, for example, the EMA is coming up with the Annex 22 regulating the use of artificial intelligence in pharmaceutical industry, and specifically in pharmaceutical manufacturing. It's currently under under revision and will then be published in 2026. So that's the regulatory side of things. And of course, I mean, like many other industry, there is also huge cost pressure, cost constraints on the pharmaceutical industry, pressure from governments in order to make medicine more affordable, which of course has then also an impact on, what are the costs that are needed in order to produce medicine. I cited here the report from McKinsey, the Future Pharma Operations Strategy. And as also McKinsey highlights in their report, there is on one hand challenges that we are facing and constraints that we are facing in the pharmaceutical industry, specifically in manufacturing. But there's also an opportunity that we have, for example, with the use of digital technology and also the willingness in order to adopt this technology, both by executives to implement that technology, invest into that technology, but also operationally by the users. And this pressure that we're going to face there in order to use new technology, the regulatory pressure that I was talking about, that cost pressure that I was talking about, all that is a bit of a new of a kind, and that demands a new way of working when we are talking about pharmaceutical manufacturing, which means we need to be more agile, we need to be more resilient, and at the end of the day, we need to digitally enable our manufacturing plants. And this is basically what we will talk about today. As said already in the title, what we are talking about today are, on one hand, the 5 levels of digital maturity as it is defined by Bioforum's digital plant maturity model. But we will also talk about, well, what could be the 5 steps in order to achieve that maturity and eventually get to that level 5 of the maturity model, the adaptive plant. We will have a closer look. What is the digital plant maturity model as it is defined by Bioforum? As already said, there are 5 levels, starting with level 1. This is paper-based manufacturing. This is not widely used of any kind of digital systems. Then the second level of maturity, we have implemented tools in our manufacturing process, but they are somehow isolated. So there is no connectivity, there's no data exchange between these systems. And when we are talking about the level 3 in the maturity model, that's what they call the connected plant. And obviously, as the name says, I mean, we have these digital tools in our digital tools and systems on our shop floor, but they're also starting to communicate and exchange data and information. And then we have level 4, which the digital plant maturity model, or the Bioforum calls a predictive plant, where we have end-to-end integration, where we have dashboards, operators, managers having access to real-time information out of our IT and OT systems. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, what we are talking about today, the adaptive plant. So we have resilient systems, an architecture that is self-learning, and the ultimate goal is that the plant operates more or less autonomously. Autonomously does not necessarily mean without any operators, but that we have access to all the information that we need in order to manage a manufacturing process end to end. This is what the adaptive plant is all about. When we're looking today at most of the I'm not saying all, but most of the manufacturing sites that we see in pharmaceutical manufacturing, the level of maturity is somewhere between 1 to maybe some of them 3. There are some lighthouse projects or some lighthouse plants, which may be also 4. But the majority of the plants stick somewhere between 1 and 2, where already MES, LIMS, and other digital systems have been implemented. So what does it now mean in order to have that 5-step approach in order to climb up the ladder from paper-based, or maybe already having MES and other systems in place, but as already said, in a kind of an isolated state, to become a more mature and, at the end of the day, adaptive plant or smart factory. So what we would like to talk about today is, well, how to move up the ladder in 5 steps. And this is not kind of a hard step from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. It's kind of a continuous process that we are following there. So first step is, well, we need to understand, well, where are we today? So all that starts with an assessment. And this is what also the Bioforum DPMM paper is all about. It's explaining what are the maturity models, but it's also giving very clear guidance how to assess what is the maturity of your particular manufacturing sites. And that's strong recommendation from our end. Well, start with that. Start with an as-is assessment. So what is your current level in regards of the digital plant maturity? And once you have that, I mean, this is where you can define then your target architecture, can define your digital roadmap, and then progress with your digital roadmap in regards in direction of your adaptive plant and smart factory. Defining your digital architecture, use models like ISO 95, for example, in order to define the architecture, and based upon your architecture, the roadmap in order to implement that. And we will talk about that in more detail in the upcoming slides. When we're talking about defining your strategy, architecture, and roadmap, which would be then the next step, and touch base on that in the previous slide already, whatever we're going to do in regards of digital architecture, it needs to be aligned with your business strategy. You can't implement just systems without having an impact on your business and the business goals that you would like to achieve. But then also on the other hand, as already said earlier, I mean, we are also facing reality, and there are probably budget constraints. So there is, from a budget point of view, but also from a expertise availability point of view, capabilities point of view, usually no way that you can do all at once, and just do a kind of a big bang approach, except maybe you have a greenfield new build site that you are implementing that digital defined architecture just in one big bang approach. So that's kind of a journey that you're going on with that. And that's the roadmap that you're going to define. And when you're defining your strategy, your roadmap, as already said, don't aim for 100% digitalization immediately. Focus on what brings you the most value first, and then implement the rest of it. IT and OT need to go together. I mean, at the end of the day, you need to get data out of your processes. So there need to be a connectivity from your OT layer to your IT layer and vice versa. I mean, I think it's kind of a natural thing today's. Don't ignore cybersecurity. It's a given. And engage all your stakeholders. From top level to shop floor, because resistance can derail the progress of what you're doing here in regards of implementing digitalization. In order to align with the business strategy, start with a clear business case. So what is it that manufacturing or operations in its total is getting out of that digitalization effort that you're planning to do. So what is the value for the business at the end of the day? Involve the operators, as mentioned. I mean, they can derail the process if there's resistance, capture their expertise. I mean, there's a huge experience usually on the shop floor that you can use proven frameworks. We mentioned already ISO 95, and yeah, ensure that whatever you're going to implement, we're talking about GMP processes here, ensure that regular compliance is embedded right from the start. That is nothing that you can just add on top just once you have implemented your installed your digital systems. And depending a little bit where you want to go, plan for scalability. For example, if you would like to implement that in more than one site, plan for scalability right from the beginning. Whatever you're going to do, I mentioned that earlier, and let's pause here for a second. Especially in manufacturing, digital transformation and the implement is not just the implementation of technology. When we're talking about digital transformation, it's a transformative process that, of course, means we are implementing a certain technology like various systems, MES, LIMS, and others. But what needs to be taken with you on that journey is also the organization. So it is a change management effort that you need to do here. What you don't want to see at the end of the day is that you have disconnected systems, fragmented data and information scattered all over all over in operations, poor decision making, just because of having not embedded in your strategy the cultural readiness of the organization and integrated the organization on that journey to digital transformation. And when IT and OT systems don't talk each other, you don't get that real-time visibility that you need in order to manage a plant. If you are not taken and ignoring that human aspect of that change, you're going to result probably in difficulties in your decision-making processes at the end of the day. So digitalization is not just about buying a piece of software or a bunch of software. It's about changing how people work, how they collaborate, and how they make decisions at the end of the day. So we have been talking about systems like MES, ERP, LIMS, QMS. Each of these systems have a very dedicated purpose when we're talking about manufacturing operations. What is important when you're taking your shop floor personnel on that journey is that you're going to provide them with the right information to make decisions. And this is where we believe, besides all these very important and necessary systems like MES and LIMS and QMS and so on, what is needed is a real-time visibility for teams, providing them the data, the information that they need in order to manage operations and make decisions. So we call that an intelligent operations platform that sits in the center of all your digitalization effort, implementing digital tools like MES, LIMS, and QMS. In the middle of that is that intelligence operation platform that provides you with all the information. And that intelligent operations platform is something that where we came up with that concept of 360 degrees connectivity. So getting information and data out of all of your IT systems, out of all your OT systems, your SCADA systems, from the shop floor, from the machines, from the equipment, but connect all that information with AI in order to contextualize all that information, provide structured information then to people, be it operators, be it management teams, be it operation teams, to use that information and make decisions in regards of your operations that you need to do in order to produce a medicine, be it pharmaceutical, biopharmaceutical, or personalized medicine. So, which means we need to put the human in the middle in order to provide them with the right information to the right people at the right time. And this is where we believe that this transformation, that digital transformation must be a human-centric transformation. We always need to be aware of what is the information, what is the data that humans, operators, managers, shift managers, team managers, and so on need in order to make decisions for your operations. So that's the next step in our way to the adaptive plant: empower the workforce. On one hand, give them the tools that they need in order to make the decision, provide them with the right information at the right time, and make operators decision makers. With all the information, contextualized information that you're getting out of that huge complex system that we call manufacturing, make them decision makers and not just task executors. And this is where, again, this becomes not only just a digital implementation of some tools, this is where it becomes a change management effort that impacts the way of working and for your operations. There's a lot talks about AI and the use of AI. So what we believe in, that if you use AI as a companion and a co-worker, for example, for your operators, then AI can become a great help in regards of a supporting process expert that helps operators, for example, with predictive analytics in maintenance, quality control, deviation management. It can help you to guide the documentation that is necessary in order to release a product at the end of the day when we are finished with production. And it also helps in order to document compliance-driven documentation along the manufacturing process and quality control. So what we are saying is leverage AI where AI is strong. Structuring data, contextualizing information, and provide that to an operator, to your shop floor teams, in order to make better decisions on your shop floor. So use that as your co-worker with all the large language models and Gen AI that is available right now. You can talk to your AI co-worker if you so will like to any other co-worker. You can use that with prompts, you can use that with speech to text and so on and so forth. And they help you to augment your daily work and being your process expert for what you for the process expert in the area that you are responsible for. And at the end of the day, when we are using that embedded, for example, in that intelligence operations platform, you have access to all that data. AI has access to all that data and information, and AI, as already said, helps you to contextualize and structure that data. Yeah, and when we have all that implemented in one successfully in one factory, the next thing is, well, roll that out. Roll that out into all of your operations domains. Roll that out into other sites, and roll that also out into your partnership if you are CDMOs with your sponsor, so that you provide more transparency to your sponsor as a CDMO. You can give them access to actually information that helps them to plan better at the end of the day in their supply chain. So just recapping, 5 steps to build your adaptive plant. That was what we have been talking today about. First of all, assess your digital maturity, know where you are today. Based upon that, define your strategy, your architecture, for example, based upon ISO 95, and build your roadmap. As I said, it's not just a big bang, it's a journey. And then implement an intelligent operations platform in order to facilitate also that change for the people working on the shop floor in management positions, give them the information, the tools, the right information at the right time at hand in order to make a decision. So empower your workforce. And then at the end of the day, scale across the boundaries of one site and implement that in your entire manufacturing network. So what's next? We have seen 360 degrees connectivity is not just a tech upgrade, it's a can become a strategic enabler. Digital maturity is the foundation, it's not the finish line. I mean, this is where you're starting off and then walking up the ladder to the adaptive plant. It's not technology that transforms operations, people do it. And people using that technology smartly and cleverly. And then the success depends on maturity. So you need to know what your maturity is and how to climb up, as I already said, that maturity ladder compared with, together with domain expertise and cultural readiness. And then the integrated operations platform. They are the foundation of the smart pharma. Without integration and having access to all that information, there is no transformation. So the future of the pharma manufacturing is connected, it's adaptive, and it is human-centric. Keep the humans in the loop. So delivering the right information to the right people at the right time. So we believe that 360 degrees connectivity is the key in order to unlock the smart factory. We have written some white papers, as you see here, about that. With the QR code, you can download them. And yeah, I'm happy to continue that conversation. If there are any questions, just ask them right now. Or if, well, I don't know, Philip, if you're running out of time, there's always a possibility to approach anybody at Eschbach or myself, and we will happily answer any remaining questions in regards of the smart factory and the adaptive plant. So thanks very much and I'm happy to answer the questions.
Thank you very, very much, Thomas, for that really amazing presentation on the 5 steps. And to all of you joining today's, we are running a little bit out of time, but hopefully you can bear with us a couple of more minutes. We have some questions in the chat, which I think are also quite interesting to dive deeper into it. So I would start right away with the first question to you, Thomas, from the audience. And that question is about, so what if one of the systems within that 360-degree connectivity system setup fails? Any contingency plans, or what's required, what's needed there?
That's a good question, and it's a little bit of a tricky question. So if you ask a techie guy, then per definition systems don't fail. But we all know what the reality is. But irrespectively, if we are talking about a fully connected plant where we have that interconnectivity and that smart, intelligent platform, if one of the system fails, we have certainly a concern in order to access the information that we need to continue our production. So, which means, and I touched very briefly on that when we're talking about data integrity and cybersecurity, that also includes that we have to implement resilient architectures here. So already starting with an MES, and if you're going for complete paperless production and review by exception, there is no room for system outages anymore. So there's no possibility to go back to paper in most of the cases. So which means on one hand, all that we have said today, but as I said, very good question, very important question. We need to implement an architecture that is resilient for failure.
Thanks, Thomas. Another question is, look, when we embark on that smart factory transformation journey, how should companies measure the success? So what indicators or outcomes to really show that the transformation is delivering that value that I have to deliver from that transformation?
Yeah. Thanks very much for the question. I mean, when I think it was on the slide with step 5, yeah, and maybe it was didn't stress it too much, but quite important is that we understand before we embark on such a journey what is the actual business case. So we are not doing, and it's also one of the pledges that I'm doing here today, is that we are not just digitalization just for the sake of digitalization. So we always need to understand what is the value to the business. So how much, whatever product can we get out of the door with the same footprint that we have in manufacturing? How do we increase quality of our products, and so on and so forth? So there could be all kinds of variations contributing to the business case, and the business case is not only just we're going to save some money here. So the business case is about, well, how do we increase the value that our manufacturing sites and our manufacturing plants are contributing to the overall organization? And that's a very, very important step that I strongly recommend not to overcome or overlook at the beginning.
Okay, thanks also for covering that. I'm looking at the chat now. There are no more questions in the chat. So I would assume all is covered very well by you. But as Thomas said, please connect with us on LinkedIn and feel free to reach out anytime, and we're more than happy to also answer your questions after that webinar. So I don't see any more questions in the chat, and knowing that we're already a little bit over time, I would say let's keep that as closing remarks for today. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Thomas, for having you here in the webinar. Been a great presentation, and yeah, we're very much looking forward seeing you around sometime soon and connect with you. So thanks again for joining.
Thank you very much. Thank you.